there are two things that you will be able to find in your family. The first thing that you'll be able to find is a reason to celebrate. Truth be told, all of us need to celebrate our families and what goes on in our families from time to time. There is always another birthday. There's always an anniversary. There's always a child graduating. There's always an achievement. There's always an accomplishment. What I'm really trying to tell you is there's always a reason to celebrate. And I stopped by to remind all of us that you ought to take time and celebrate the greatness that goes on in your family. One of the reasons why we are celebrating is because when we celebrate, we're telling the world that we made it. Truth be told, the odds are stacked against us and the devil is trying to take us out, and there's so much going on around us that wants to bring us down that when you have another accomplishment, you need to stand up and celebrate and say, yes, I have made it. When you reach another year, in spite of all of the chaos and confusion, in spite of the mayhem and the trouble, you need to stand up and celebrate and say, yes, we have made it. Can I preach the way I feel? When you wake up in the morning and your eyes open and flutter and the blood starts to run between your veins, you need to praise God and celebrate and tell him, yes, I have made it one more time. Sometimes we got to appreciate what God is doing in our families by celebrating the victories that we have accomplished. When we celebrate, we're telling the world that we made it. We made it in spite of our problems. We made it in spite of our sickness. We made it in spite of our issues. We made it in spite of our tragedies. I don't care what happened to me, because I stand here today, I tell you we made it, and because we made it, we celebrate. We need to appreciate the act of celebration, because celebration brings a new vigor to the family. But not only will you find a reason to celebrate because you're telling the world you made it, but when we celebrate, we're showing our appreciation. One of the issues that we have in our daily time in today's society is we simply don't appreciate each other the way we should. All too often, we want people to pat us on the back, but we don't want to celebrate nobody else. All too often, we want people to lift us up, but we don't want to lift up anybody else. Well, I stopped by to remind all of us this Sunday morning that, baby, if you want a strong family, you got to learn to celebrate others just like you want them to celebrate you. When they have an anniversary, you need to tell them, I'm so glad you made it one more year, because, baby, because you made it, you are a reflection on my family. When there is a graduation, you ought to celebrate that child and say, I'm so glad you made it, because you could have gave up like other folk. Every victory, we got to be able to celebrate with somebody else, because we're telling them, I appreciate the victories in your life. I appreciate your endurance. I appreciate your reform. I appreciate the fact that you consecrated yourself to your purpose. We're telling them that, baby, I celebrate with you because I appreciate you. Not only are we showing our appreciation to the one that we celebrate, but we're showing our appreciation to God that helped them through. I remember the old song we used to sing back in the day, how I got over, how I got over. My soul looks back in wonder, how I got over. Well, baby, I stopped by to remind you, when you start to celebrate and remember this, all the things that you're going through, what it took to get you there, and you remember it was not by my strength, it was the Lord that brought me over. It was not by my intellect, it was the Lord that got me through. It was not by my might, it was the Lord that helped me out. And so when I celebrate the goodness of Jesus. When I celebrate the power of his victorious hand. When I celebrate all that God has done for me. We need to learn to celebrate, and in our celebration we're telling God, thank you. We always will have a reason to celebrate if you just look in the family. Well, secondly, not only will you always find a reason to celebrate, but truth be told, if you have a family, you will always find a conflict. Think I ought to say that again. Because some of y'all act like y'all ain't never had no issues in y'all family. And truth be told, some of you got some folk you ain't talking to right now because of a past conflict that you have not resolved. If you got family, there's going to be some conflict somewhere. There's going to be a rubber meets the road, and we're having a parting of the ways because I don't like the way you did me, and I'm not sure you like the way I did you. There's a reason we have to understand how to overcome these conflicts. And can I drop something in your bucket? The same principles that apply to the family, they also apply to the church. Can I preach the way I feel this Sunday morning? We need to celebrate each other in the church because the truth be told, the same God that brought you is the God that brought your sister. The same God that brought them is the God that wants to bless you. But baby, we also got to learn how to handle our conflicts in the church because the reality of it is, just like Satan wants to destroy the family unit because he recognizes the family represents the unity of God, he also wants to destroy the unity of the church. And the reason why those same principles apply is because we have the same Father. And baby, we got to learn to handle our conflicts and overcome them in a godly manner that God might be able to bless our world through the unity of the church. Can I preach this Sunday morning? There's always a conflict. There's always a Sister Sally mad at Sister Sue. Brother Johnny ain't speaking to Brother Joe. Cousin Fred don't want to talk to Cousin Nebo. There's always a conflict. But the reality of it is, the strength of your family is not proven in your celebration. The strength of your family is proven in how you handle your conflict. Anybody can get together when things are going well. Anybody can be unified when everything is going right. But baby, how do you handle when two lines come together and they don't quite set? How do you handle when two minds meet and you don't see things the same way? How do you handle the fact that you messed up with each other? In other words, the strength of your family is not proven in your praise. It is proven in how you handle your problems and your conflicts. Can I preach this Sunday morning? This particular passage of scripture teaches us that you can overcome your family conflicts. This is a story that we understand oh so well, the story of two twins. And let me work through this story just a little while because I want you to understand that before you can overcome your family conflict, first and foremost, you need to understand the source of your conflict. See, all too often, we want to hide our family issues behind closed doors and push those skeletons in the closet. And all too often we push them skeletons so far in the closet until it bulges out of the walls. We sweep so much stuff under the rug until we're tripping over the rug. Well, baby, I stopped by to remind all of us this Sunday morning, unless you resolve those conflicts, those same conflicts that you try to hide in your family, going to come out in your job. When they don't come out in your job, they're going to come out with your friendships. If they don't come out in your friendships, they're going to come out in the church. We got to learn how to resolve some of these conflicts that we might be a healthy and whole person that Christ can use. Help me, Holy Ghost. We are so burdened down because we're burying stuff when we need to resolve some stuff. Can I preach it out this morning? You got to understand the source of your conflict. When I walk through the story of these two men's lives, we know who they are. Esau and Jacob were two brothers that shared the same room. They were the sons of Isaac and the sons of Rebekah. And the Bible reminds us that one of the reasons why we have family conflict is simply because of sibling rivalry. We understand the story of these two. While they were in the womb, her pregnancy was so troubled until she thought something was going on. And the Bible declared that there was two nations warring within her womb. As they came out the womb, there was constantly a competition between one and the other. Oftentimes, we have sibling rivalry, and because of those rivalries, because of that competition, it will create a conflict in our family. And can I preach it the way I want to? Oftentimes, people compete because they become the measuring rod. I heard somebody say that proximity will breed empathy, but the truth be told, proximity proximity will breed competition because now I'm looking at you trying to measure up. Now I'm looking at you trying to validate myself. Now I'm looking at you trying to make me feel good. Well, I stopped by to tell you, baby, don't look at me. I'm not the measuring stick. Don't look at me. I'm not the one you measure up to. If you want to measure somebody, measure your life next to Jesus Christ. Measure yourself to the great I am. Measure your standards to the standards of God. All too often, sibling rivalry will cause some conflicts because we're too busy trying to compete with one another when we ought to be busy trying to help one another. Second reason why sibling rivalry causes so many problems is not only because of proximity breeding competition, but oftentimes people will deflect their insecurities on you. We all got that one in the family that has to be seen above everybody else. We all got that one in the family that's got to be first before everybody else. We all got that one in the family that wants to make themselves feel good by making you feel bad. And baby, the real problem is they're trying to deflect their insecurities and they feel like if I can put you down, that will lift me up. If I can make you look bad, that will make me look better. If I can make you feel bad, I can feel better about myself. And the real problem is not that you don't like your brother, you don't like yourself. Can I preach the way I feel? And the reason why you don't like yourself is because you don't know yourself. When you find out who you are in Christ Jesus, when you find out who you are in your relationship with God, when you find out who you are in your walk with Him, I am more than a conqueror. I am an heir to the kingdom. I am a son of the Most High. And because I know and love me, that helps me love you. People bring their insecurities to the family table and cause problems and conflict. These boys had a problem because of sibling rivalry. Secondly, these boys had a problem because of parental favoritism. Amen. Walls in here. We got to be careful how we treat our children, because even though they've got different and distinct personalities, they're still your children. Even though some will be obedient and some will be disobedient, they're still your children. Even though some may do the things that you like and some may do the things that you don't want to speak of, they are still your children. And baby, what you have to learn how to do is you have to be fair to all of your children and love them all the same. But can I preach something this Sunday morning? Baby, being fair don't mean you do everything exactly alike, because they're different people, because they have different identities, because they have different personalities. You might treat this one differently than you treat that one, but you love them both the same. Can I work the text? The Bible declared that Esau was a rugged man, a man's man, who knew how to hunt and fish and bring back the wild game and cook it on the pit. And his father Esau appreciated the man's man. Well, Jacob was one that was smooth and cunning. He was one that knew how to think and manipulate. He appreciated art and philosophy. He kept the house just right. And Rebecca loved Jacob. But the problem that they had is one set this one on a pedestal and one set that one on a pedestal. And they both are trying to compete for mama and daddy's attention. Baby, when you play favorites, you're trying to teach your children to compete for your attention. You got to learn how to love them all. I'm so glad that the God that I serve loves me just as much as He loves you. But parental favoritism will bring about separation in the family unit, because everybody's trying to stake their claim and mark their territory. Everybody's trying to prove their validity because one parent prefers this one and another parent prefers that one. Aren't you so glad God is not like us. Can I tell you a story that I told the 8 o'clock worship service? I remember my mother who loved us all, and we are as individual as you could possibly be. We have distinct personalities, distinct mindsets, and mama had a way of making everybody feel like that was her favorite child. But one day I remembered we had to share a Hostess cupcake, not the whole pack, one little cupcake, and I watched my mother cut that cupcake in 4 equal parts, and each child got a part, and it didn't matter if you was the oldest or the youngest, your part was the same size as everybody else. What I'm trying to tell you is that even though we had different relationships, mama was fair with everybody. You got to learn to be fair with your children. I preach this Sunday morning. Parental favoritism will cause family destruction. You're too busy trying to make Johnny be like James, and they're 2 different people. Too busy trying to make Sally be like Sue, and they're 2 different people. Don't you realize when you compare one child to the next child, you are destroying who that child is supposed to be? God allowed them to be an individual that he might be a blessing to the family, not because of what you want him to be, but because of who he already is in God. Help me, Holy Ghost. These boys had a problem because of sibling rivalry. These boys had a problem because of parental favoritism. These boys had a problem because of money. Amen, lights in here. Everybody can be fair when ain't no money involved. Everybody lovey-dovey when ain't no money involved. Everybody feeling good when there's no money involved. But baby, put a few coins on the table and watch your real nature come out. Put a few coins on the table and see how much fairness is really in your soul. Put a few coins on the table and see how Satan can manipulate the greed that's inside of you. These boys had a money problem. Can I work the story just a little bit? The Bible declared that while Esau was out hunting, because his daddy thought his days was over, he said, I need you to go out and hunt for me one more time. He came back after a hunting expedition, famished and starving, and he looked around and he saw Jacob already cooking a pot of stew, and because he was hungry and impatient, he said, I want you to feed me, and Jacob took advantage of the situation and said, I'll feed you if you sell me your birthright. I'll feed you if you sell me your plot of the family land. I'll feed you if you sell me your portion of the family inheritance. Now the problem that I have, we always jump on Jacob for stealing from Esau, but Esau did not value the family name. He did not value the family spirit. He did not value the father's promise. Had Esau just taken his time and went to the father's house, he'd have had everything that he needed. I stopped by to remind us sometimes we got to stop oppressing our brothers and say, just go to the father's house. If you make it to daddy's house, he'll put food on your table. If you make it to daddy's house, he'll put joy in your heart. If you make it to daddy's house, he'll resurrect your soul. Esau should have been patient and went to the father's house. Can I give you a lesson within a lesson? Sometimes we're too busy running to church folk, your church brothers and sisters, when you should be running to your daddy. That one's for free. You'll catch that one tomorrow. Not only did he sell the birthright, but as I was describing the last meal, Jacob also stole the blessing. Because the Bible declared that while he was out hunting and Rebekah knew what was about to transpire, she whispered into Jacob's ear, if you want to get all that daddy has, what you need to do is dress yourself up like Esau and go into the room and smell like your brother. Don't worry about it. I'll cook the meal for you, but you need to go in and get your portion of the family dollar so that I can make sure that my favorite son will take care of me. Can I preach you something else? Sometimes you got to be careful of what folk whisper in your ear, because they have an ulterior motive that only wants to benefit them. Amen. And because he tricked his daddy and and stole from his brother. Because not only did he have the birthright, but now the blessing. You see, the blessing was a decree of financial prosperity. The blessing was a decree of carrying on the family name. The blessing was a decree of having the hand of God upon your life. Can I preach the way I feel? Baby, I stopped by to remind us fathers, we got to go back to doing what Jacob used to do, what Isaac used to do, and what Abraham used to do. We got to be able to lay out a blessing on our children and declare the promises of God and declare the favor of God. Because when money run out, favor never fails. When people get funny, his promises are yea and amen. When everybody leave you, God will never forsake you. We got to learn to give our children some blessings, and that blessing is putting them in the hands of God. Isaac blessed the younger brother, which meant he had both the money and the name. We know how the story goes. Esau found out what was going on and conspired to take his brother out because he was mad and angry. And baby, if anybody had a reason to be angry, it was Esau. He was upset, and as the children used to say, toe up from the floor up. And he had decided that once daddy checks out, I'm going to take my brother out. And Rebekah heard the story and decided to whisper into Jacob's ear, you need to clean out your closet, get out of this place, and go somewhere safe until your brother cools off. I'm so glad that even in a mess, God could turn some things around. Can I preach the closing of the story though? There came a time when Jacob had to go home. There came a time when he could no longer be who he used to be. Because see, I stopped by to remind you, sometimes we got to leave things into the hands of God. And there are three principles I want to bring to your attention before I take my seat. Because the scripture says that on the way home, Jacob understood that Esau had a problem. On the way home, he recognized there was a conflict between the two that needed to be worked out. On the way home, he recognized there's some issues. So let me devise a plan. I'll set my family and my resources up in stages so that if he gets one, I can escape and get away. But before he got home, there's three things that transpired that's going to help us in family conflict. The first thing that's going to help you in the midst of a family conflict is you got to let God work on you and them. When Jacob was on his journey, the Bible declared that he had an encounter with God. First and foremost, even before he had an encounter with God, God was working some things out in his life because the trickster had gotten tricked himself. What should have been a short stay turned into a 20-year process. And because he ran into Laban's house and decided he wanted to work for his wife Rachel, and he said, I can't give you Rachel until I give you Leah. So he spent 14 years of labor trying to marry one woman, another 6 years of labor trying to get what he thought he deserved. And Laban changed the trail, change the testimony, change the requirements of the work responsibilities 10 times. What am I trying to say? We're so busy trying to get even with folk. God has a way of vindicating things. God is a righteous judge. God can make the tables empty. Let God work some stuff out. But not only did God remind him, you ain't as slick as you think you are. God said, I still got purpose for your life. And on the way home, he had an encounter with God. And the Bible says he wrestled with God all day long. The Bible said it was the angel of the Lord. For those who are biblical literate, that is a theophany and a Christophany. That is a pre-incarnation visitation of Jesus Christ. It is an anthropomorphic image of Jesus showing up before he brought the birth canal. And the Bible reminds us he wrestled all day long until God decided, I've got to break free. Let me touch your hip and change the way you walk. And so the trickster and the slickster and Jacob was now transformed, and his name is now Israel. I gotta walk with a limp to show I've been touched by God. In the midst of your conflict, you got to find a way to get touched by God. You got to find a way to walk differently and let God change you. But not only did God change Jacob, the text suggests that God also changed Esau. See, we think God can only work on us. Baby, if God can work on you and the one that's mad at you at the same time, let me flip that thing around. God can work on you and the one you mad at the same time. And we think it's all about them, and sometimes it's about us. The Bible said Jacob was afraid that Esau wanted to kill him. But when he met him, he was ready to kiss him. He thought he was ready to take him out. But when he met him, he was ready to lift him up, because the same God that touched Jacob is the same God that touched Esau. So baby, if you want to resolve some conflicts in your family, the first thing you got to do is you got to let God work some things out and let God touch you both. Secondly, when you want to resolve some conflict, you got to acknowledge you're wrong. The biggest problem with us is we're too arrogant to say, I'm sorry. Amen, lights in here. I know what I'm talking about. I lived with some folk and that don't want to apologize. But sometimes we have to understand that if you really want to make some things right, you got to acknowledge your part in the wrong to start with. Because baby, it ain't all them. Sometimes it's some of you. Sometimes you did some stuff. Sometimes you messed up. Sometimes you crossed the line. Sometimes you done folk dirty. Sometimes you said the wrong thing. And when we do the wrong thing, we need to learn to acknowledge our wrong. Because can I preach something to you? Words are feeble and fickle. We have learned how to lie and say I'm sorry and not mean it. But God has a way of bringing some things out. If I just acknowledge my wrong, then maybe God can make it right. Jacob on his way home recognized that I've sinned against my brother. But not only did I sin against my brother, I sinned against my father. But not only did I sin against my father, I sinned against my God. You want to get some stuff right, you got to acknowledge your part in that sinful behavior. You want to resolve conflict? Allow God to work in you and them. You want to resolve conflict? Be willing to acknowledge your wrong. You want to acknowledge, or I should say you want to overcome conflict? You got to be willing to make restitution for the mess you made. See, we just want folk to forget about it and move on. We just want to act like it never happened. Sometimes we want our I'm sorry to be good enough. But every now and again, baby, you just got to make some things right. Every now and again, you've got to restore some things that you've taken. And sometimes it's not about money and stuff. Sometimes it's about relationships. Sometimes you took a person's dignity by the way you treated them. Sometimes you took a person's self-esteem by the way you talked to them. Sometimes you took a person's pride by the way you acted around them. Baby, we got to be willing to restore if we want things to be reconciled. The Bible declared that Jacob recognized, I'm smart enough to realize if I'm going to go before my brother, I'm sorry, it's not going to cut it. Let me give him some finances. Let me restore that which I've taken. Let me give back some of the money. Let me give back some of the property. Let me give back some of the stuff I've taken from my brother. I'm trying to tell you, if you really want reconciliation, you got to restore that which was wrong. Can I bring it to the church? Because oftentimes there is conflict in the church. And the reason why there is no conflict is because there is no restoration. The reason why there is no conflict is because there is no restitution. Can I take you back to my household one more time? I can remember back growing up, I loved my sisters so much until I did not want them to face the wrath of my mother. And when my mother was angry, she had a way of whipping you that she would pause between syllables just to catch her breath to extend the whipping a little bit longer. And so I would take my whippings for my sisters. But as they got older and the whippings got more intense, I began to step back and not take those whippings because I understood I couldn't handle the restitution process. But I'm so glad that in the church we've got an older brother that makes restitution for those of us that have violated the principles of the Father. I'm so glad in the church we've got somebody that can make restitution that never gets tired of taking my whippings. How do I know? Because my Bible says he was wounded for my transgressions. He was bruised for my iniquities. And the chastisement of my peace is upon him. I'm so glad that Jesus decided to make it right. I'm so glad that Jesus decided to make the bridge. I'm so glad Jesus decided to restore that which was stolen. He restored my peace on the cross. He restored my love on the cross. He took away my sins on the cross. He restored my holiness on the cross. You ought to be glad that you got an older brother that took your whippings to make restitution for the mess that you made in the family unit. And I'm not talking about the local family. I'm talking about the eternal family. Let us stand to our feet.